A young boy walked into an ice cream shop, his clothes simple and worn. He approached the counter where a busy girl was working and asked, "How much is the chocolate ice cream?" She replied, "$5. The boy then asked, "How much is the vanilla ice cream?" She told him, $4. After thinking for a moment, he said, "I'll have the vanilla, please." The boy's appearance made it clear that he didn't have much money. When the girl brought him his cup of vanilla ice cream, he smiled and thanked her, then found a seat in the corner. The shop was crowded that day, but the boy quietly savored his ice cream, taking his time, as if each spoonful was a treat too precious to rush. A few minutes later, a wealthy family walked into the shop, looking for a place to sit. Noticing that there were no free tables, the girl glanced at the boy, still slowly eating. She told the family, "Just wait 2 minutes. This child is almost done." Feeling pressured by the busy shop and the rich family waiting, the girl walked over to the boy and said impatiently, "Hurry up, please. The shop is full and there are no empty tables." Her tone was harsh, as if his presence was less important because he didn't look like the other customers. She wanted him to leave quickly, even though other people who had arrived earlier were still sitting comfortably. The boy, though polite and respectful, didn't complain. He quietly finished his ice cream, placed his payment on the table, and gave the girl a soft "thank you" before leaving the shop. He walked out without making any fuss, unnoticed by most of the other customers. As soon as the boy left, the girl hurried over to clean the table. When she picked up the money, she was shocked to find $5, exactly the price of the chocolate ice cream. The boy had chosen the cheaper vanilla ice cream, not because he preferred it, but so that he could leave a tip for her. Suddenly, the girl's heart sank. She realized that this boy, whom she had treated so coldly, had shown her kindness far beyond what she deserved. He had given up the treat he truly wanted just to offer her a tip, despite having so little himself. The guilt of her rough behavior weighed heavily on her. Full of regret, the girl rushed out of the shop, hoping to catch up with the boy and apologize, but he was already gone. Days passed, and she kept an eye on the door, hoping he would return so she could make things right. But the boy never came back.
Why do wealthy people love taking on debt while poor people fear it? Listen to this story, and it will all make sense. In a small town where nearly everyone was in debt, a wealthy businessman visited and checked into a local hotel. He placed $1,000 cash on the counter and said to the hotel owner, "Find me a suitable room." He then went upstairs to look at the options. As soon as the businessman went upstairs, the hotel owner grabbed the $1,000 and rushed next door to pay off his debt to the butcher. The butcher, now with $1,000 in hand, walked across the street to settle his outstanding bill with the cattle rancher. The rancher, relieved to have the cash, used it to pay off his debt to the feed supplier. The feed supplier, in turn, took the money and paid the truck driver, who had been delivering goods for her. Finally, the truck driver headed straight to the hotel to settle his unpaid lodging bill with the owner. Moments later, the wealthy businessman came back downstairs and said, "None of the rooms suit me. I'll take my money and leave." He picked up his $1,000 and walked out the door. By the end of the day, no one in the town had produced anything new, and no one had gained any extra money. Yet somehow, all the debts in the town had been cleared. This story illustrates the incredible power of circulating money. It's not about having more, it's about keeping money moving, creating opportunities for problems to solve themselves. It's not that we're living in a time where making money is hard, it's that you may not have found the right method for yourself yet. Why is it that some people work tirelessly every day just to scrape by, while others seem to live comfortably without even having a job? Where does their money come from? The answer lies in understanding the relationship between ourselves and money. Many of us work hard, but without knowing how to manage what we earn, it slips through our fingers like sand.
Dr. Mark was a famous oncologist. One day, he flew to an important conference in another city. An hour after takeoff, an emergency landing occurred. Dr. Mark rented a car. Soon after he set out, a severe storm began. Due to the rain, he took a wrong turn and got lost. Dr. Mark came across a small house. A woman opened the door and said he could come in and wait until the weather improved. She made him tea and said she was going to pray. Sipping his tea, Dr. Mark watched the woman as she prayed next to a baby crib. The doctor understood that the woman needed help. So when she finished praying, he asked her, "What exactly do you want from God? Do you think God will ever hear your prayers?" The woman smiled sadly and said, "The child in the crib is my son, who suffers from a rare type of cancer. And there is only one doctor, his name is Mark, who can cure him, but I don't have money to afford him." Shocked and lost for speech, Dr. Mark burst into tears and whispered, "God is great." He remembered everything that happened to him. Plane malfunction, the storm that led him astray, and all this happened because God gave him the opportunity to help poor people who have nothing but prayer. The belief in the power of prayer and faith can provide hope and strength in difficult times. There was a poor woman who made dough every day. She would sell it to fishermen and merchants, who used it to fill the cracks in their boats. For each dough she sold, she earned just $1, which she used to buy food for her children. One day, the woman went to the shore, waiting for a boat to come so she could sell her dough. While she was standing there, a crow swooped down, grabbed the dough from her hand, and flew away. The woman burst into tears and cried out, "Lord, this dough was the only way I could feed my children. Now they will go hungry. Why did you let the crow take it from me?" Heartbroken, the woman went to see the village priest and asked him, "Is God unfair?" The priest gently replied, "No, God is not unfair." The woman, still upset, asked, "Then why did he allow the crow to steal the dough, knowing it was all I had to feed my children?" The priest smiled softly and said, "You may not understand his ways now, but trust in God's wisdom. Sometimes what seems like a loss is really a blessing in disguise. Be patient, and he will repay you with even more than what you've lost." Just as they were speaking, there was a knock at the door. When the priest opened it, 10 merchants stood outside, looking grateful. One of the merchants said, "Today, God saved our lives. We were out at sea when our boat hit some rocks, and it started to crack. Water was flooding in, and we thought we were going to drown. We prayed to God to help us, and promised that if he saved us, we would give $100 each to the poor. Out of nowhere, a crow flew by and dropped some dough into our boat. We used the dough to patch up the cracks, and made it back to shore safely. Here are $1,000 for the poor, as we promised." The merchants left, and the priest turned to the woman with a kind smile. "You see," he said, "God bought your dough for $1,000 instead of $1. Go home, feed your children, and don't forget to thank the God for his mercy." The woman was filled with gratitude and went home with enough money to take care of her children for a long time. She realized that even when things seem unfair, God has a plan, and sometimes his blessings come in ways we don't expect.
A little boy was spending his Saturday morning playing in a sandbox. He had with him his box of cars and trucks, his plastic pail, and a shiny red plastic shovel. He discovered a large rock in the middle of the sandbox. The lad dug around the rock, managing to dislodge it from the dirt. With a good deal of struggle, he pushed and nudged the rock across the sandbox using his feet. He was a very small boy, and the rock was very huge. When the boy got the rock to the edge of the sandbox, however, he found that he couldn't roll it up and over the wall. Determined, the little boy shoved and pushed, but every time he thought he had made some progress, the rock tipped and then fell back into the sandbox. The little boy grunted, struggled, pushed, and shoved, but his only reward was having the rock roll back, smashing his chubby fingers. Finally, he burst into tears of frustration. All this time, the boy's father had been watching from his living room window as the drama unfolded. The father went to where the little boy was. Gently but firmly, he said, "Son, why didn't you use all the strength you had?" Defeated, the boy sobbed back, "But I did, Daddy, I did. I used all the strength I had." "No, son," corrected the father kindly. "You didn't use all the strength you had. You didn't ask me." With that, the father reached down, picked up the rock, and easily removed it from the sandbox. Moral: God is just waiting for us to call on Him. He is our strength in our weakness. He is waiting for us to surrender everything, all your worries, all your cares. Every barrier that comes in your way, do not face it alone. God is with you.
Stay blessed.